Greetings to all our beautiful listeners of the Empowerment Podcast. I hope you're having a great time, having a great day. This is definitely a beautiful day that the Lord has made for you and I to rejoice and be glad in it. First of all, I'd like to send out a shout out before we get into today's episode. There's a comment that we've received, and thank you so much, Kahiso, for sending through your comment. And I do pledge that more people do as Kahiso has done. So, this is a comment or a reply from Neo Kahiso Ntwaring. He says, "Great episode. You've got yourself a follower. Powerful insight. I've taken something from that. In getting to know who Christ is, we get to know who we are in Christ." Thank you so much, Rache. So well put. Definitely, if we get to know who Christ is, we get to know who we are in Him. Thank you so much for your reply, and I hope you continue to listen to Empowerment Podcast. Looking to see you more on our comment section on more of our episodes. Guys, we got to get this out of the way. Have you seen Leadership Talks with Ratiba Mohale? Have you seen what's happening there? If you haven't, definitely check out more episodes on your favorite podcast, the Empowerment Podcast. So let's get into today's business without wasting any further time. I'd like to do it like this today. Welcome to another episode of the Empowerment Podcast. As I said, I'm your host, Lunga Mr. Arthur Kumalo. And today we'll be diving into a fascinating topic of old habits, new ambitions. We often hear about the importance of breaking old habits to make room for new opportunities. But what happens when those familiar routines start to hinder our ambitions? I think we've seen it now and again. We even see it with New Year's resolution most of the time, that people have big ambitions, but they're always stopped and hindered by similar or familiar routine or old habits, if we may put it. Before we delve into the impact of old habits on our aspirations, let's first understand the dynamic at play. Habits by nature are comfortable and familiar. They create a sense of routine and stability in our lives. But what happens when we cling to those habits, even when they no longer align with our evolving ambitions? And I know for everyone, we have a lot of them. We have a lot of ambitions. We have a lot of goals that we set. We have a lot of plans that we have. But what really happens when those habits no longer align with our evolving ambitions? Picture this. You've set an ambitions or goals for yourself. Whether in your career, personal development, or relationships, you're excited about the potential for growth and change. However, lurking in the background are those old habits, the routines that provided comforts but are now holding you back. Another example. Take for instance the habit of procrastination. It's a common one. We find solace in the short-term comfort or delaying task, but in the long run, it can kill our motivation to pursue our ambitions. The excitement we once felt slowly diminish as we continuously put off the steps needed to reach our goals. How many people who have been discouraged, how many people do you know that maybe I'm even talking to one as I'm sharing this episode? How many people do you know who have had a lot of great plans and great ideas? Maybe some of them it is personal transformation. Maybe it's stopping that bad habits. It is creating that new habit. Because I sometimes feel we talk bad about habits. We promote more bad habits rather than also introducing new habits, which are progressive habits. Because if we're going to look at habits as a negative thing at all time and never look at it as a progressive thing for once, we will never understand the impact that they make that is on the other side of the fence, which is positive. We'll always see them as a negative. Understand? Because habits are these things that we do routinely, religiously. We continuously do them. We sometimes even do them without even our subconscious mind understanding, or without even, I don't even want to say without understanding, but it is now imprinted in our subconscious mind. We now do it automatically. We don't have to fight into doing these things. And unfortunately, it is those habits that will hinder these new goals, new ambitions, new dreams and desires. It is those habits that will hinder our own drive and ambition into getting or accessing greater heights and new possibilities in life. So why do we hold on to these old habits? Well, the answer often lies in the fear of change. Breaking our habits means stepping into the unknown, and that uncertainty can be daunting. But what we fail to realize is that holding onto outdated behaviors can be even more detrimental to our growth and ambitions. I'll say that again. We hold on into these old habits because, number one, we fear change. And let us be honest and confront it. The only reason why we fear change, it is because we also fear stepping into the unknown. These routines create a sense of comfort and understanding and familiarity, whereas change calls us into the unknown, calls us into taking greater steps, calls us into stepping into something that we've never imagined ourselves stepping into. And it also comes with uncertainty. And unfortunately, that can be really daunting to a lot of us. And we don't realize that these behaviors can be even more detrimental to our growth and ambitions. We deteriorate, we become complacent, and we easily procrastinate. We get comfortable in these little things, in these little steps, in these safety barriers that we have put for ourselves, that we do not exceed, that we do not move out of, that we play within. We play within these safety tapes so that we do not become the greater and the better version of who we are supposed to be. Hence, we know the goals to set for ourselves, but we never know the steps to take to attain those goals, because the behaviors and the routines that we have imprinted in our mind are not the ones that are progressive enough for us to reach those goals. Let's talk about inspiration. That driving force behind our ambitions. Old habits have a way of dulling that inspiration. When we are stuck in the same routine, our minds become complacent, as we just said, and our inspiration take a back seat. Why? Because these inspiration calls you into creativity, and it calls you out of your comfort zone. It calls you into being spontaneous at some times. Inspiration calls you into doing something or learning something that you've never imagined yourself going into. Whereas these routines, as we said and we continuously say, they create a mindset of being complacent and being comfortable in your own comfort zone and in your own space. It sort of creates a red tape that you put around as your prison wall that protects you from reaching out of your own comfort and out of your own limits. It limits us. And a lot of us have these ambitions, and unfortunately what this thing or this idea of affirmation and speaking things into a mirror, you'll never see it reflect into you if what you are saying is only said to a mirror and not what is your inner dialogue on a daily basis. If what you utter out as your affirmation is not your daily dialogue on the inside of you, on the behaviors that you want to take, on the dreams and ambitions and the goals that you've set for yourself, unfortunately, it will continue to be a poem that you'll recite, but you'll never see it reflecting. And a lot of these affirmations nowadays are affirmations that are centered into us. They are not social community. They are not a social community, but they are a central perspective and an understanding of me attaining that car, me attaining that business, me attaining that car and home. They are not a social community type of affirmation where I understand that at some point I'm not going to be able to do or to draw all of these things on my own. At some point I'll need a network, at some point I'll need a group of people who will be common-minded into the goal and the vision that I have. And these are some of the limitations that are there that hinder these ambitions that we have, and we become prisoners and we have these shackles in our ankles, whereas we try to reach out for greater height and greater goals, and we remember that, oh, there are these red tapes that are there for me to play within. Old habits, new and great ambitions. How do we navigate life through it? Another example, consider the habits of excessive screen time or mindless scrolling through social media. While these actions may provide momentary relief, they can also defile creativity and passion. And a lot of us do that. The time spent on these habits could be invested in activities that fuel our ambitions, but instead they become roadblocks to our inspiration. And unfortunately, as I said again, it's inspiration that requires creativity. I'll say that again. Inspiration requires creativity. For us to fully go for everything that we are inspired to do, we're required to be creative. We're required to think in a new way, in a new set of way. The old way of thinking, it's not going to be to do. It's not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. If you had a dream the previous years of going to the gym and you're still approaching it in the same way even in 2024, believe me, my sister, believe me, my brother, it's not going to happen. Because inspiration requires creativity. What do I mean about that? You need to set out boundaries, you need to set out a plan, you need to set out a creative way of accessing that goal into your reality. Because I'm not going to lie to you, a lot of us have beautiful dreams and ambitions, but not all of us have beautiful plans to reflect those ambitions and as our reality. And what makes that? Because we think inspiration on its own and having just a dream on its own is enough. It's not, unfortunately. Because for old habits to die, we'll need to create new habits. We'll need to create new routine. We'll need to replace some of the things. We'll need to unlearn some of the behaviors. We'll need to learn a new skill. We'll need to learn a new way to approach things. We'll need to learn a new world and a new dimension. And one of the biggest things that we'll need to learn we'll need to learn to stop fearing the unknown. Breaking free from old habits requires a conscious effort to reassess our priority and align our actions with our inspiration. It's about recognizing when certain behaviors no longer serve us and having the courage to embrace change. Unfortunately, for a lot of us, that's what we don't have. We enjoy comfort so much that embracing change is so scary that we rather die where we are and continue to think and to learn what would have happened if I took that faith and did that action. A lot of us are sitting with those type of regrets. What would have happened if I acted? What would have happened if I took that deal? What would have happened if I approached that person? What would have happened if I sealed that deal? You know? And a lot of us, we are prisoners of our comforts. We are prisoners of our comforts. We do not have the courage to embrace change. And unfortunately, because we are human and we are made in God's image, creativity never stops with us. We'll continue to have ideas that will suffer being victim of a person who's afraid to embrace courage. In fact, these ideas will continue to be victim of an individual who lacks having courage to embrace change. But I'm not here to judge anyone. Here are a few practical steps to overcome practical steps to overcome old habits and reignite your inspiration. Self-reflection. Take time to reflect on your habits, their impacts on your ambitions. Identify the ones that are holding you back. Number 2, set clear goals. Define your ambitions clearly and break them down into actionable steps. This clarity will help you stay focused and motivated. And the last one, create a new routine. Replace old habits with new, positive routine. This could be as simple as dedicating a specific time each day to work towards your goals. I'll say them again. These steps are 3 steps. Number 1, self-reflection. Number 2, set clear goals. Number 3, create a new routine. These 3 steps can change your life for 2024. These 3 steps can change how you even view yourself. Because a lot of us have been disappointed by the way we react to a lot of things, and that has even affected the self-image that we have about ourselves. A person who continuously failed to stop smoking, if just an example, if you continuously fail into doing that, you end up seeing yourself and viewing yourself negatively because you continuously do something that you no longer want to do. And that affects your self-image. It affects how you see yourself and how you understand yourself and how you treat yourself. If you are an individual who's trying to create a good relationship with your finances, a good relationship with money, that easily affects your relationship with yourself, because you want to do this thing and you see that negative impact it's having on you, and you want to create a healthier relationship with your finances, but you're failing. Whenever you've managed to save a bit of money, you always find yourself now using this money that you've saved in a wrong way, because you no longer have something to do that is useful for that money. And you eventually label yourself as a failure. You easily label yourself as a person who is careless, and whatever extreme way you can go about it, into judging yourself and crushing yourself. Hence I say these negative behaviors have a way of negatively affecting us, not only just with where they directly affect us, but they have an ability of negatively impacting us even with the way we view ourselves, of who we are. Breaking from old habit to pursue new ambition is undoubtedly challenging, but the rewards are immeasurable. It's a journey of self-discovery, growth, and then the realization of your true potential. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Empowerment Podcast. Remember, it's never too late to break free from chains of old habits. Step into the exciting realm of new ambitions. Thank you so much.
Empowerment Podcast. Inspire, equip, and empower.